And we're back with the Funky Werepig. Unless, of course, this is the first episode, then welcome aboard. So, what we do on the Funky Werepig is we get to interview some of the upcoming people, usually in the horror genre kind of thing, and other times we interview living legends. And we have one with us today, though he's going to be shy about it, so I'm going to keep prodding throughout the thing. Mr. Tom Monteleone. How are you, sir?
How you doing, man? Good
How you been, man?
I'm very good. Since I saw you 5 minutes ago, good.
That's right. This is so, it comes off natural, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes off natural. We both have that theater training, right?
Yes, actually we do. I spent a lot of time in community theater because I was writing scripts for these guys, and I couldn't help myself. I inserted myself onto the stage a few times. Why not, right?
You actually got up on the boards, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What was your biggest role? What was the one that you will, when you lay in bed at night, you just go, I crushed, I killed?
I was actually filling in. I was dating this girl at the time, and it was Soroyan's Time of Your Life. You know, that one, the big bar scene.
Yeah.
And everything takes place in the San Francisco bar. And the main guy is a guy named Joe, who basically just sits at a table, and people just keep coming in and out. All the other characters interact with him. And the guy didn't show up one night during rehearsal, and I was just sitting there watching this, this chick work. And they said, "Hey, Tom, would you come in and like read Joe's lines?" And I went up there and I started reading the lines, and I kicked the lines ass, right? And the director says, "You know what? How about if you want to be Joe?" And the other guy that came, it's like Willie Pep and Lou Gehrig, it was great.
You snatched it away from the guy.
I took it right out of his mouth. Yeah.
He could have been something, and you just.
So I did Joe, and it was great. I had a lot of fun doing it. And everybody said, "Wow, you should do this more often." I said, "No, once is enough." Yeah, that's good.
Now you.
But I did show up in some of my own plays that I wrote.
Okay. Yeah. So you actually. Well, that's like Hollywood casting.
Huh?
That's just a shortcut. I wrote it, so I'm in it. That would be like a guy who's doing a talk show that says, just because I happen to invent it, I get to be the Funky Werepig. That's pretty egotistical.
But no, I prefer that to this kind of crap. Like, I'll never forget, there was this really bad movie called What Lies Beneath. You know that one?
Yes.
Really terrible. And if you get the DVD, there's this little thing at the end, a little featurette, where they have the actors talk about what they did in the film. And some of those are kind of interesting. This one was just kind of this exercise in egomania. And all the actors are talking about how wonderful this film was. And one guy actually said what all writers, want to choke somebody for. He actually said, "We were doing so many cool things on the set that we actually discovered that we didn't even need a script." Right? And I'm thinking, "Oh, you asshole." Okay, it's like he's one of these guys that never thinks about where scripts come from.
That's right. Well, it's
like,
when a mommy script and a daddy script really love each other a lot.
And they make a script.
They make a baby script.
Or, even more magical, they get up in the morning and if they come from FedEx.
That's right. The FedEx ferry brings it to them.
You know what I mean?
So,
the newest draft comes from FedEx every day.
Now, you knew, though, if I remember correctly, you knew you wanted to be a writer in an early age, like 10, because correct me if I'm wrong, you had like scarlet fever, right? And then I had jungle fever once, but equally painful.
I also had dengue fever.
Dengue? Well, that's a little bit more localized now, isn't it?
No, that's from the Amazon. It's where the Ananya River is.
I thought it was a physical reference to
the old dengue.
Yeah. So, but tell me about that. Your early love, because you knew.
I was really sick. I was sick for about 2 months, and I started reading all these old Ballantine paperbacks, and I read all these great people: William Tannen, Theodore Sturgeon, Fritz Leiber, Arthur C. Clarke, and I just realized this stuff didn't come out of the ground like an onion. Somebody had to create this stuff. Every word was written by somebody. And when you're 10 years old, you don't see the world like that. You see the world in very global terms, where things just simply are. And I think that was the very first time that I established a real sense of cause and effect, that books come from somewhere, and they actually come from somebody thinking them up. And I thought, that sounds like a great gig. I'd like to try that. course, you know, a couple of years there, it's like careful what you wish for. Yeah, some years chicken, some years feathers, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I never grew up on a farm, but I'll go with you. I'll go with you on that.
It was just an analogy, just a rural analogy. Okay.
When did you know that? I mean, wanting to be. I mean, at one point want to be an astronaut. At one point want to do this or that or a flamingo dance or whatever it is. What point did you say? Did you actually realize this is going to work? I could do this.
Well, I don't know if I ever realized it was going to work when I was a kid. But when I was at 12, I went out and I cut lawns all summer, saved my money, and bought a typewriter. And I thought, now I'm going to try to do this. And I typed up really bad derivatives, crappy stories from comic books and things. But the cool thing about comics was that you really learned story structure.
Right.
Because comics are pretty tight, it's only 22 pages, and a lot of the old EC stuff and the old horror comics, they weren't episodic where you had a continuity each issue. Each issue would be a tight one story. So you really learn structure, beginning, middle, end, if you're doing classical storytelling.
Right.
So I think I learned a lot from that. Just beating out stories that I had already read in comics and then trying to put a little twist on them, things like that.
Add some meat to it.
Yeah.
Speaking of adding some meat, before we break for commercial, I just want to bring this up to you. I believe you were about to say the word shit.
I actually was.
Okay. Before we break, I want you to know this is wide open and free. Look right into that camera, if you would, and just get it off your chest. Just say shit.
Shit. How's that?
All right, we'll be right back after this.
An expert author with over 30 published novels, Thomas Monteleone makes writing easy and fun. Now revised to include interviews with best-selling authors such as Straub, Matheson, and Blatty. Available in stores and online wherever books are sold.